Throw in Baldur's Gate 3 is broken. It's one of those things you don't expect to be as good as it is, but when paired with the Barbarian Rage mechanic, it's an absolute monster. With the right setup, you have 3 to 6 attacks in a single turn, decent AoE damage, insane defensive capabilities, and most importantly, unlike most builds, the Throw Barbarian comes online early in Act 1 and stays strong through the entire game. Let me show you how to play my Spartan Barbarian build. First, we have access to a handful of ranged weapons, ideally ones that can return to you after a throw. Because we are a barbarian, we spec into Berserker subclass and get access to Enraged Throw that has a chance to prone enemies and most importantly, only costs a bonus action. We multi-class into Thief for the additional bonus action and we do what we do best, we throw. If we somehow run out of attacks, because we multi-classed into the Fighter, we have a few additional attacks, again really setting us up for insane damage. You can see single turns doing upwards of 300 to 400 damage, and defensively nothing ever touches you. Let me show you how to build this build. Alright, so starting this thing off, we're going to be playing as a barbarian. You're probably not going to play as a tiefling. I mean, you could. The other options I would probably recommend is like a wood elf or possibly a dwarf. Not so much the dwarf because you can like illusion yourself, and I mean there's a good hammer with it that you can use for this build, but ideally just pick whatever you want. Just maybe a wood elf or a human. That's what I play. I haven't really put too much into the race, but yeah, just keep that in mind. For the stats, this is how I have the stats. You're going to prioritize strength and constitution. I mean dex, sorry. The reason early on you're probably going to have like the recommended like this. Probably works fine. But later on you're not going to need as much constitution, so you can like prioritize like dex or whatever if you want to, right? So just keep that in mind, because we're going to be using a amulet that's going to give us the constitution that we need. So for in-game, just want to make sure this is clear. This is probably better for in-game. For early game, you want a more even spread, probably prioritizing constitution a little bit more. Alright, so we are on the barbarian, and how we're going to level this up is 2 ways, and the main way is going to be 6 barbarian, 4 thief, 2 fighter. The other reason we would level differently is somewhere between like Act 2-ish. You would probably go Eldritch Knight a little bit early and get the you basically want a specific skill that makes it so that you can bind weapons to your character. But in my opinion, I just like sticking with the 6-4-2 spread, because the lightning jabber that you get in Act 2 is only like it's a little bit more damage, don't get me wrong, but it may be less inconvenient. But ultimately, if you're going to be playing this like as a leveling build, you're going to eventually go Eldritch Knight so that you can get the binding to the weapon thing, so whenever you throw your spears and come back to you, because there's no real like Act 2 weapon that does it. There's an Act 1 and an Act 3 weapon, but not an Act 2 weapon to my understanding, so just want to clear that up first. Specifically for this build though, we're going to go Barbarian obviously, level 2. Level 3, we're going to pick our subclass, and it's going to be Berserker. Why we're getting this is for Frenzy obviously, and then the Enraged Throw. This uses a bonus action to throw items, and whenever you throw your spear, it's only going to cost a bonus action rather than an action, and that's really important. Now when you're leveling this, how I typically do it, and I would highly recommend you do it this way too, is once you hit 3, well once you hit level 4, you will stop here, and then you will go to Thief from Rogue. So you're gonna level up here, skip, level up here, and then we want to choose Thief because Thief gives a extra bonus action, and this functions basically as an extra attack for this build. So you won't necessarily get the extra attack. You will have to wait 1 more level to get it technically with this one. So it evens out and it's really powerful, but that's how I would do it. From here I would go back to Barbarian. You can finish this, I don't know, it's up to you, it doesn't really matter. But I would go back to Barbarian and choose a feat, and the feat we're picking is Tavern Brawler because this adds the modifier from your strength to thrown or melee attacks, and that's really big for the build because that's just going to give you more damage, and we're going to put that into constitution, into strength. Now we get our extra attack at level 8, which is level 5 for Barbarian, and then level 6, this is going to be up to you how you want to allocate this. I mean, you can start with Fighter. I mean, you want the rage charge, it's important. You can maintain rage charge without it, But like level 9 you can go like this, grab fighter, and then go again, and then you can get action surge here. Because this is how I did it. I'm not sure how like good it is, but this is how I did it. And then I had a bonus attack, right? And then you can just finish up finish up the level 4 and you're pretty much done, right? Finish up Barbarians level 6 for this, and then finish up your level 4 fighter. I mean level 4 rogue. And some of the options you can pick for here is what is it called? You can go ability improvement. This could be a good one. But early on, before you get the gear that I have, alert is kind of like core. Like you really need the initiative, and it's really nice. But later on, like I've tested it and I didn't really need it that much, and I just like used the points for other things, right? But that's because of my gear, so just make sure you keep that in mind when it comes to the gear stuff. That's why you wouldn't use alert. Alright, so before we get started, again, I made sure to give you guys a lot of extra options so that it'll be much easier for you to level up. Put a little bit more effort into it this time so that players have a better, you know, better option. So yeah. Alright, on to the gear, and if you've made this far in the video, do consider leaving a like as well as subscribe to the channel. These videos, I put a lot of effort to make sure that they're good and, you know, usable for you guys. So leaving a like as well as subscribe really goes a long way in helping me out. And yeah, again, we have a lot of different gear options that we're going to go over, but I'm going to just show it to you here. So over to the head, we're going to go with the Horns of the Berserker. This gives you 2 bonuses to attack roll when attacking creatures that already have taken damage. And then unarmed and melee attacks will deal an extra 2 necrotic damage as long as you don't have full health. This is a pretty decent helmet. I'm a big fan of it. Some other options that I would highly recommend early on is the marksmanship helmet or hat. I don't remember where I got it from, but it's pretty good because they'll give you +1 bonus to attack rolls and throw attack rolls, so it's really valuable. The Dark Justiciar helmet, I think this is in the Underdark, or maybe this is Act 2. I know there are 2 Dark Justiciar parts, but this one's really good. It will give you bonus to saving throws against spells, some Constitution saving throws, and this is going to give you some crit stuff too, because you can play this as a crit build, so it's pretty nice. Another option is the Mask of Soul Perception. This can help you with initiative, perception checks, and attack rolls, which is pretty decent. But ideally, I think I would still choose this helmet or the marksmanship hat over this. Finally, we have the Mask of the Shapeshifter, and this one's purely if you want to play the dwarf, because there's like a hammer we'll go over in a second that gives you more thrown damage whenever you throw with a hammer as a dwarf. Not really the most premier option, but an option nonetheless. For the cloak, I got the Cloak of Displacement. This is going to give enemies who attack you disadvantage on attack rolls every turn, so it's less likely they hit you. You have pretty decent armor. This is a 23. You can have much more if you like go at more defensive playstyle. Alternatively, you can get the Cloak of Protection, which will give you even more AC. Pretty decent, and it gives you saving throws. And then if you really want to commit to crit, you can go with the Shade Slayer Cloak, which will again do the crit thing where it reduces the roll you need to hit a crit by 1. What I use in this video is this one, but again, more options. For the chest, we have the Flame Enamelled Armor. What this does is it gives you 2 to initiative rolls, which is why we always start the fight super first, and then you have resistance to fire damage and bonus 2 to saving throws, and then you get a shield that like blocks, I think it's like fire damage or something. Half of the cold damage, and you deal fire damage to anything that hits you. It's pretty good. You just need to have a medium armor because that's what you use. Act 1 option is the Adamantine Scale Mail. On the screen I'll have a video showing you how to craft this. This one is arguably better early on. Kind of depends on what you need to do. It has crit resistance on it, super good. But yeah, really good options for you guys. For the gloves, there's no glove option, just use this one. The gloves, the Uninhibited Shogi, whatever it's called. It gives you plus a bonus 1d4 damage with throw attacks and melee attacks. Or made with improvised weapons, and this one's really good because that 1d4 that you see isn't like all the damage you're gonna get. I think it like stacks in a weird way. Not exactly sure how the mechanic works, but it's really good. You definitely should use these. For the boots, we have the Evasive Shoes. This is gives you 1 to acrobatics, and armor class is really not too many more options. I like the Brisk Wind boots. These are pretty good because whenever you crit or you kill an enemy, you get your movement speed restored, which is really valuable. I'm a firm believer in these boots. I think they're very underrated. And since you could go crit with the shade and the helmet and all that other stuff, the Dark Justiciar helmet, you can really get a lot of value out of this. For the necklace, this is the Amulet of Greater Health. I like using it because I think it's like the best amulet in the game. If you're going to not use this, you're gonna go Misty Step, because if you guys don't know, when you throw from a higher point, you actually get more damage, and it gets kind of crazy the higher you are. So you could, in theory, like position yourself high and throw your spears and get a lot of damage out of it. But just keep in mind, you'll have to respec your constitution to be like a more normal number. So just, yeah, keep that in mind. For our rings, there's really not many options here. You want to go with the Ring of Flinging. Give you 1d4 bonus to throws. It's multiplied weirdly or compounded weirdly. Not sure the mechanic, how it works. Whenever you throw it, it gives way more than what it says. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And then we have the Callous Glowing Ring. This gives you where it does additional 2 points of damage against creatures that are illuminated. Specifically with this build, we used this spear, and this spear illuminates. It gives you the Neuralin Glow. This object shines with a glowing light in the radius of 6 meters. So whenever you throw this, you get this bonus. So that's why we use it. And then one important thing to note about this weapon is you're not going to be able to get this one early. You get it from the Djinn in the circus in Act 3. But some alternate options are going to be the Returning Pike. This one will automatically come back to you when you throw it. You get this one from the Goblin Camp, from one of the goblins. And yeah, that's how you get that one. And the other one that you can use, this is going to be for Act 2, but this one doesn't return to you. You'll have to rebind this with the Eldritch Knight trick that makes it so that you your weapon returned to you. Over for our shield, we have the Veronica's Walking Fortress. You don't have to use this one. It's up to you completely. Ideally, early on, you're going to grab the Sentinel Shield. This one gives you +3 bonus to initiative rolls. And this is really good to help you with just getting first, because you really want to attack first, because you get a lot of attacks out of this. Lastly, on our bow, we got the Deadshot. The Deadshot will do very similar things to a lot of the pieces here. Give you a better chance of critting. You're proficient with it with this build, so it's really nice. So highly recommend it. There's other things you can use, but this is what I use personally. And that's pretty much it for the gear. There's a lot of versatility here. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Over on the Illithid, I didn't get Karlach to do the Illithid. She doesn't have the Illithid, but favorable beginnings. Luck of the Farm Realms. I know you guys probably see this in every video. You guys very much can probably just put this in every video and just like slot it in. It's gonna be these two all the time. The rest you can pick whatever you want. These are what's important to me personally, and that's pretty much it for the Illithid. There you have it. That is my Spartan Barbarian build. I can't really stress this enough, but the build is, in my opinion, one of the best builds in the game, simply because it uses items most classes won't take advantage of. It has tons of attacks per turn, and most importantly, it comes online very early, so you can be hard carried by the build as soon as Act 1. Now, Throw Barbarian isn't for everyone, but on screen, if you enjoy a more stealth approach to gameplay, check out my Death Stalker Rogue build. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.